right, welcome to the Pole Nation's Lambo Sports feature, the Big Buddy feature, Solid Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lions are the best team in the NFC. I do agree. The Jets keep their playoffs alive. I think Aaron Rodgers will return around maybe week 12 or week 13. He's throwing the ball. I mean, he's walking again. That's my timetable. I think he'll return to is hopefully by week 12. Hopefully that I'm right. If not, he wants to play this year. I don't think he'll wait till the playoffs. I don't think the Jets. That depends on how many games they win. But before I get to that, the first game I'm going to get into, I'm starting it. Patriots versus the Raiders. Now in the world, Josh McDaniels is Bill Belichick. Okay, the mentor, the disciple. Okay, Josh McDaniels 3-0 against Bill Belichick. The Patriots defense did everything right. Shut down Devontae Adams. Didn't do nothing. Jacoby Myers got an early touchdown in the second quarter. Great. It's awesome. It was 10-0. They allow 1 touchdown, 4 field goals. That's a great defense. I mean, 4 field goals in the second half, 3 in the second half. Patriots offense was a little better. It's not great. It's a little better than it was 2 weeks ago. I mean, at least you scored touchdowns. I mean, my God. They burned the clock for 9 minutes in the fourth quarter. Mac Jones, I'm going to call for your job. I'm going to have to. You took a sack in the end zone, and then you threw a dumb pick in the second quarter. That was nowhere in the world. It was not even in Hunter Henry's direction of hands. You rolled, did the same shit you did against the goddamn Dallas Cowboys, rolled to your right, and you think you're Jalen Hurts or Pat Mahomes. We never seen you do that in Alabama. We never seen you do that. So the frustration comes from Mac Jones. He's a bum. He's awful. I just thought he would get better, and he's gotten worse. Malik Cunningham played a couple snaps. It was terrible game planning because every time he comes in, they're going to run the ball. We're not going to let him throw it. I want Bailey Zappi against the Bills next week. I'm done with Mac Jones. The Patriots tried their best. I mean, we had a chance to win the game. But the 2 crucial holding penalties cost us a lot in that final drive. When we had the first down before the 2-minute warning, and then it was 2nd and 14. So, yes. And Mac Jones took a safety, which is dumb. Throw the ball away. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm done with Mac Jones. We are 1-5 for the first time since 2000. Start Bailey Zappi and have Malik Cunningham in there. The Raiders were not that good. Jimmy Garoppolo was out the rest of the game with a back injury. Brian fucking Hoyer beat us. I have nothing to say about this.
Brian Hoyer played well, too. Came in through 6 for 10. Obviously, Jimmy was playing well, minus the 1 pick before he got hurt. But, he wasn't playing bad by any means. And you guys were limiting Josh Jacobs. So, I mean, like you said, the defense played great. I will say a little bit on the offensive side. In a game like this, where it's this tight, I mean, I get it. They had to kind of come back in the second half a little bit, but I wanted more. I don't know. I think for as good as Ramondre Stevenson was last year, that they're not using him nearly enough. This game is just another example of it. But, the 10 carries in this game, and then you have 7 from Zeke, who broke off an 80-yard screen that got called back for holding for a touchdown.
Oh, Lord, I'm mad about that.
That was fun. It was fun for me to watch until it got called back. I was like, oh, let's go, Zeke. Just my Dallas bias a little bit, and, always got love for him. But that was unfortunate. But, he shows that he can still be explosive. He only got the ball 7 times. He did get his first touchdown of the year on a goal line type touchdown, which is where he got all of his scores for us last year.
The Wildcat. That was a great play called by Bill O'Brien. The Wildcat.
And it shows what – not that – because, obviously Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn don't present that option for Dallas, and our red zone is struggling now. And Zeke is a red zone touchdown magnet. So it would have been cool to keep him. Obviously, the money wasn't lining up. Maybe if we brought him back after we had cut him for cheaper, maybe it would have worked. But in the sense of the Patriots, I think that you've got to put more into the run game, especially when you can't trust your quarterback as much as you'd like to. You have two, obviously Zeke isn't the same player, but you have 2,000-yard rushers in your backfield, and you're not using them. And it's a little weird to me considering like Kendrick Bourne played well, and Hunter Henry's played okay this year, but he only had one catch, and like Gesicki is all right, but like it's not like you guys have, like we saw the Devontae Parker drop. That was awful. We saw
Perfect throw by Mac Jones. Great throw.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just like when you can't trust, and not just your quarterback, but you can't trust your quarterback as much as you want to. You can't really trust the majority of your receiving core, and you have two experienced 1,000-yard backs in your backfield. Not using them is weird to me. I don't understand why that would be the game plan. And then also, I mean, like I know it sucks with Mac, but I agree. I think it's over. He's had his time, and he's kind of regressed. Now, obviously, it's not been the smoothest transition for him. I mean, the Cam Newton experiment was his rookie year, and then he was a Pro Bowler, and then he's had his third now different play caller on offense. So it's it's unfortunate that that's his situation, but you look at so many other young quarterbacks in the league. I mean, Baker, for example, had like 5 different play callers by his third year. And there's other examples of that everywhere. So it's not really an excuse for Mac. But he has had 3 different OCs in 3 years, and he's regressed with, each one. So I was hoping, just for, the sake of wanting to watch good football, that last year's struggle had to do with having a defensive coordinator and special teams coordinator as your dual OCs. But he hasn't really played much better than he did last year. So I don't know. When it comes to the Jets, though, and their playoff hopes, I did want to talk about that as well. So obviously it rests kind of on the shoulders of Zach. Like, as long as he's not losing them games, I think they play the Giants next week. And then you've got the Chargers. That'll be tough. The Raiders, they can win. They've already beaten the Bills, so I think the Bills return the favor. Dolphins, good luck trying to match that offense, but their defense could definitely slow them down. Falcons is a winnable game. Texans is a winnable game. Commanders are a winnable game. And the Patriots are a winnable game. So my prediction for Aaron, if he does come back, would be the week 18, week 17. So like last week in December, first week in January. And that's obviously only if Zach has kept them in contention, to where if they say they win out the next 2 games, that they could sneak in. But I don't think that he's going to be back in early December. I did see him out there walking and throwing a football, but at the same time, that's not playing. And I'm sure Aaron, him at 70% is better than Zach at 100, but at the same time, Aaron knows that he's old, and if he goes out there too early and hurts himself again, then he's done. So I think he would be back if it's possible, which it looks like the timeline is super fast. I do think it'd be more like week 17, week 18, only if they're in contention, just because of the risk that comes with him going back out there against or with the same O-line, if not worse, because they've gotten hurt as well. So, week 17 or 18, that's my prediction. Jets playoff hopes. I'm thinking that, they have a chance to win a lot of these remaining games, but like I said, it comes down to Zach not, screwing up.
All right. The Lions are the best team in the NFC. They beat the Bucks on the road. They're 5-1. Was that surprising? What is your thoughts on the Lions and Bucks game? Are the Bucks gonna fall off now? I mean, I think we hyped up maybe a little bit too much, and they lost tough games, of course, to the Eagles and the Lions. But are the Bucks done, and are the Lions the team to watch out for in the NFC going forward?
Well, they're definitely a team to watch out for. I'll give you that. Like I mentioned in the preview stuff, their defense has been so improved. They're top 10 in multiple categories. Getting Jameson Williams back, even though he still only contributes in kind of like a limited capacity when it comes to snap percentage. We saw a big touchdown from him this week, which seems to be every time he's on the field, he's scoring big touchdowns. We saw that at Bama as well as his short career in the NFL so far. Yeah, Baker didn't play great. Just above 50%, just above 200 yards and a pick. But it also comes down to, just the team around him. I thought he made some good throws. He obviously didn't make the right decisions all day. But, like Rashad White, another disappointing week. Mike Evans saw him drop 2 balls. One was really bad. And then you go to the Lions side of the ball, and Amon-Ra is still one of the best wide receivers in the league. He's coming up. I mentioned Jameson Williams. He's explosive every time he's on the field when he can stay on the field. And Jared is still playing at a super high level. So I do think that they are one of the best teams in the NFC. But regardless of this loss, regardless of how bad Brock played, I'm still going to give the best team in the NFC to the Niners. It was a bad game for sure. They played a really good defense in terrible conditions. The ball obviously was slipping out of Brock's hand multiple times, and that's on him for sure. This wasn't his best game, but I will say that I still think the team is the best constructed team in the league, and I also think that they're just. I don't think the Lions defense, as well as they have been playing, is on the level of the Niners at all. I think there's only a few teams that are on that level, and I think Browns are one of them, Niners, and whenever the Cowboys want to get out of bed, their defense is on that level as well. So the Lions, though, are, like I said, top 10 in multiple categories. They're really good on defense, but I don't think they're the best.
Next game we're getting to is the Ravens versus the Titans. It was an international game. It was great. Well, Ryan Tannehill gets hurt again. And Derrick Henry does what Derrick Henry does, but I started Raheem Moister on my fantasy over Derrick Henry. What are your thoughts on this game? And is the Ryan Tannehill era over despite the injury? I think Malik Willis gave some shines towards the end of the game. I know last year he was put in a situation where, it was like, we expected him to be that guy that he was. But I think they need to start Malik Willis going forward. The Titans lost like 3 straight games, and I'm not sold on the Titans as far as they have Ryan Tannehill. What are your thoughts on this game? Is the Ryan Tannehill era over? Should they go to Malik Willis?
Yeah, I think so. I think the issue here is that Malik Willis is, he's definitely an improvement over a hurt Tannehill, but I get Tannehill hasn't played great, but when we saw Malik last year in the short span that we did, he wasn't good. And in this game, he only threw the ball 5 times. He had 4 completions, 75 yards. That's awesome. But he 4 sacks. I don't think all of them are on the O-line. He's got to get rid of the ball. And then that play where he ran, you got to get out of bounds. And he stays in bounds trying to make something happen. And then they get a hold or block in the back or whatever. It was a very inexperienced scramble. You could tell it right away with, he was going out of bounds and then he stepped back in and tried to make someone else miss. And they the clock keeps running and they get a penalty for 10 yards. So that'll come with experience for sure. But Tannehill has looked awful this year, so I don't think moving to Malik makes like so much of a negative change. But they've got to bolster up that wide receiver room. The O-line is not as good as it used to be. And not even bolster it up. You got to get D-Hop more involved. You got to, I mean, Burks is nice as a young player, but I don't think he's like a wide receiver of the future or anything like that. So you're going to have to add something, maybe try to make a play at the deadline, or you just ride the rest of this season out with the roster that you have and commit to kind of rebuilding. But in my head, that's just not the Vrabel way. It doesn't seem like Mike Vrabel would be the coach of a rebuilding team. So in my opinion, I think that they need to make some more like immediate roster improvements rather than try to do this gradually.
All right, the Commanders versus the Falcons. I'm not sure why you picked the Falcons. I understand that Sam Howard had his turnovers, but Desmond Ritter had 3 interceptions as well. Not only that, but Arthur Smith's dumbass decides to go for 2 and not kick a field goal. I don't understand the analytics behind this. And as soon as they drove, they couldn't get a touchdown. The Commanders' defense went off. Howell, 3 touchdowns. I've never been sold on Desmond Ritter, but are the Commanders going to be competitive going forward? And what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, well, the game was frustrating because Ritter, again, didn't play super well, but he had his second consecutive 300-yard game. Drake London looked great. Kyle Pitts finally scored a damn touchdown. They stopped up Bijan, which I didn't think that they were going to be able to do. Held him to 2.8 yards per carry, and then in the passing game, he did have 5 for 43. So, like, great players are going to get involved. Always. So they bottled him up the best they could, I think. And then also Desmond throws the ugliest interceptions that I've seen since Zach Wilson. I mean, he throws ugly picks, and it is very frustrating, especially when you pick the Falcons. But I thought the Falcons defense was better than they showed. And I thought they'd be able to, force some turnovers on Sam, and it just wasn't enough in this game. So, yeah, I mean, I took the L on it. That's fine. I mean, they ran the ball like shit. I guess they didn't really put an emphasis on it, but the offense, it's not like the defense allowed a bunch of stuff. That's why I made the Falcons pick. Is because the Washington offense I didn't think was going to do all that much, and they didn't. They didn't even have 200 yards of offense, and they won this game, and it's because Desmond Ritter put them in a position to win versus putting his own team in a position to win.
All right, I was wrong about this too. The Seahawks versus the Bengals. The Bengals defense shuts down Seattle late. And then they sacked Geno Smith on a 4th and goal. He couldn't get the ball. Joe Burrow couldn't get the ball in the end zone, but the Cincinnati defense does what it does. And Geno Smith had 2 interceptions. The Bengals are probably back to winning their winning streak. This is Seattle's first loss coming after the second loss of the season, but first loss after they were in the bye week last week. I think the Bengals are back. I think they'll be competitive going forward. I think they're a better team than the Buffalo Bills. Even though the Buffalo Bills have more wins, I think Cincinnati is back, and I think Joe Burrow is as healthy as ever. I know they didn't play well. Like I said, the Seattle defense was going to be competitive, but that Seahawks offensive line was more of a problem than the Bengals offensive line.
Yeah, this was a defensive game. It was pretty boring, I think. I mean, Kenneth Walker's good. Obviously, Tyler Lockett, DK, JSN. And then Bobo made his appearance as well with a pretty timely catch. Obviously didn't result to a win or anything. But, yeah, I mean, this game was just boring, dude. Neither offense got anything going. Tyler Boyd did a terrible touchdown dance. Yeah, I mean, Geno played like shit, and I think Joe was lucky that he played against a quarterback that played like shit, because it's not like Joe did anything great really in this one. He threw 2 touchdowns, but 185 yards, 36 QBR. And then in the run game, Joe Mixon is not at all Joe Mixon of old. So, yeah, boring game. I don't have much to say on it. The Bengals, at least they're getting back into the win column. They're back up to 500. And there's 2-1 in the division. So it looked like they might be dead, but just like that, they're right back into a very competitive spot in that division.
Right, Miami Dolphins blow out the Carolina Panthers. Carolina was up 14-0. I didn't think they were going to win this game, but Tua has 3 touchdowns now. He threw a dumb interception, obviously. Tua turned the ball over, but Tyreek Hill's one of the best receivers. Raheem Moisture gave me fantasy points, despite 2 running backs for the Dolphins going down. Devon Archer might be out for the rest of the season. It's not really too much to say on this game. I just want to know your thoughts. Is Miami going to be a top 3 team in the AFC?
Yeah, I think so. Especially like as of right now, they have showed that now they let Adam Thielen torch him on defense, but I'm pretty sure they're getting Ramsey back in the coming weeks. I'm not sure exactly when, but the team is getting healthier as opposed to other teams getting, more and more banged up. So it's cool that they're going to have something to improve on. Obviously, once Achane gets back, they'll have their 2-headed monster in the backfield, and Mostert and Achane. And yeah, Tua has continued his great season. 3 touchdowns, no picks, 78 or 76.8 QBR, and a 126 passer rating on 66% throwing. I mean, he had a great game. And like you said, Carolina was up 14-0 in the first quarter, and we're down 21-14 in the second. So, it was cool to see Bryce have success for a little bit. He didn't turn the ball over. The passer rating was okay, but QBR is still pretty low. He's got to get the ball out a little bit. 4 sacks. Not all of those were on the O-line, but the O-line is a problem when it comes to pass protecting. But hey, Chuba Hubbard played pretty well. 4.6 a carry. They gave him the ball 19 times, and he had a touchdown as well. So considering obviously the disadvantages on paper that the Panthers would have against the Dolphins just when it comes to matchups, I think they performed pretty well. They're obviously not ready. They're obviously still one of the bottom teams in the league. But it was not too much to say. It was a good game from Bryce. It was a better game from the Dolphins.
This game was boring too. Vikings versus the Bears. The Vikings win. It was a defensive game. Justin Fields, was out by the third quarter. The same old Bears. They losing games, but at least it's more competitive. The Broncos are getting blown out, even though they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. At least, the Bears are not getting somewhat blown out. They have got blown out before by the Chiefs, but the Vikings, they're in the middle of the pack in the NFC North. They won without Justin Jefferson, but they still suck. Are the Vikings gonna make a tremendous comeback, meaning wins? Now, I don't think they're gonna be the Lions, start off 1-7 and win straight games. But is this a good starting point for the Minnesota Vikings after losing all these close games?
No. No. So trade deadline is at the end of the month. It is on October 31st. And I think that if the Vikings drop, I don't want to say their next game, but if they get blown out by the Niners, and then the Packers is on the 29th, I think the 29th would be a little late to come up with the trade package, being that it would be the 30th and the 31st. But if you get blown out by the Niners and then you go to Green Bay and you don't win or you look bad, regardless if you try to get a win out of it like they did this week, I think Kirk could be traded this year. I don't know where in my head right now, but he's done after this year anyway. Do you want to rebuild around him? I don't know. But you could send him somewhere and get decent draft capital. And I'm sure that there's a couple teams out there that will definitely be willing to take a shot on a veteran that you bring him in, he finishes the year for you, and you could extend him. Or he hits free agency and he goes back to dominating contracts as Kirk Cousins has done his entire career. He has won the NFL when it comes to making the most out of situations and contracts and stuff. He has done very well when it comes to negotiating. I think if him and the Vikings are ready to go in a different direction and these next 2 weeks don't go well, you can see him going by Halloween. I think it's a possibility. I'm not shooting my shot here and saying that it happens, but I think it's very possible that Kirk is gone by Halloween if the next 2 games go as poorly as this one did. They were just lucky enough that they played the damn Bears. JJ, I knew that it would be a major impact, and I said that, but I thought just based on the weapons that they have in Hawkinson, who was their leading receiver with 50 yards, and then Osborne and Jordan Addison, I thought they could get some other stuff going. They couldn't. Kirk was under 200 yards for, I'm sure, the first time in over a year. Had to be like since JJ's been there at least, that he hasn't been over 200. Alexander Madison, awful. Cam Akers only had 1 touch. And then, they just got lucky that they were playing the Bears, I think, because any other team you play that's statistically at the bottom of most fields, like the Bears are, and you put up just a dog shit day on the field like they did on Sunday, I don't see any positives for the Vikings, even though they won. I see 0 positives in this game.
Next game, the Saints versus the Texans. I see a lot of positives in the Texans. I know they're 3-3, but that defense is huge. We both were wrong. We picked the Saints, but the Saints just can't get nothing done on offense. I don't think Pete Carmichael is a great offensive coordinator. I think he should be fired. C.J. Stroud is doing good. Now, I know we bashed him just a little bit, but C.J. Stroud, the future of the Texans, and should the Saints move on from the offensive coordinator to Pete Carmichael, because I guess they're not – I'm not sure how he's trying to utilize Alvin Kamara.
Well, Kamara had 26 touches in this game, 19 rushes, 7 catches. They just couldn't make anything out of it. Derek Carr threw for 350. When's the last time a quarterback threw for 350 and put up 13 points as an offense? I don't know. Chris Olave looked great. Rashid Shaheed had 2 massive catches. Taysom Hill tied for first on the team in this game in receptions. He had 7 for 50 yards. Michael Thomas 5 for what? ESPN's doing stupid ads. But yeah, I think the players are there, the pieces are there. What needs to happen? And at this point, it might be that you need a new OC. The issue is that would have to happen at the end of the year, just because you can't. First off, you don't have the best OCs that will be available. It's the middle of the year. You want the best ones. You got to wait till the end of the year for the job cycle to start. And then also, you can't teach your offense a brand new scheme and expect success to come immediately, regardless of the talent that they do have on offense, which obviously they're loaded. but the defense has been helping them stay in games. And I'm with you. I definitely think it really comes down on the coordinator. And I wouldn't be surprised if they went their separate ways once, they get eliminated. If they get eliminated, because the South is wide open, obviously. But if they get eliminated from playoff contention, I wouldn't be surprised if they ditch the OC then. But if not, I think by January, he's gone.
All right, Cardinals versus Rams. All right. Rams go back into the win column. Arizona was competitive in the first half, and then Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp go off. Now, the offense has been struggling as far as the offensive line. Matthew Stafford's been getting hit. The Rams are back in the win column. They do play the Dallas Cowboys, I think, next week after their bye week or the week after. I still going to think the Rams are a playoff team, but they're very inconsistent on the defensive side, and they need work on the offensive side. What are your thoughts? And we knew the Arizona Cardinals were going to be good, but they're competitive, but it's too much. Cooper Kupp is back.
Yeah, Coop is back, and then also Puka, this was the first game that he seemed human and not like a complete alien out there. So, his run comes to a little bit of a halt, but I'm sure he'll continue to put up good numbers. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think the Rams are a playoff team as well. They've got to tighten some stuff up for sure, which we thought they were. Like, going into the year, I didn't think that they were a playoff team, but they've convinced me that they definitely can be. And, with as shaky as, like the South still is, that's only going to be one team. And then I think 2, maybe 3 come out of the East, and then 1 from the North. So it gives them definitely some leeway when it comes to they can, maybe try and get that spot over the Commanders or over the Seahawks, maybe. But I think it's going to be the 6 or 7 seed for sure. I don't know. I mean, they just gotta they gotta get it's still the youngest team in the league. Like, that hasn't changed. This is still one of the most inexperienced teams in the league that happens to have a really great head coach and a great quarterback. And also, you have one of the best receivers of this generation. So it's good that the youth is around a great foundation like that. Now, how far can they pull the youth behind them until they catch up and can contribute as well as the veterans? I don't know. But I'm with you. I think that they could be a playoff team. The Cardinals compete. You can't tell the players that you're tanking. The organization can try to tank as much as you want, but you can't tell the player to not go play hard, and that's what they do every week. And it just hasn't worked out every week, except for, of course, when they played my team. But we'll move past that.
All right. Well, Kyron Williams did rush for almost 160 yards and 20 carries. So I feel like the Rams would be more efficient if you run the ball, but I think they'll lose games if they can't run the ball effectively. But they still need a number 2 running back so that he doesn't get really all the carries. I'm talking about just going forward for the Rams, because they don't have him. They got rid of Cam Akers, who was with the Vikings. That might be problems down the road. Final game to get over is the Giants and the Buffalo Bills. We talked a little bit about the Giants being the worst team, but Buffalo is struggling on offense. I mean, my God, 14 points against the Giants? I mean, now I know the Giants defense is not great, and you said in the previous episode it's not great. And I mean, it's good defense by the Giants, only holding a high power offense to 14 points. At one point, the Jacksonville Jaguars held them to 7 in the fourth quarter in London. This offense is just, it's out of sequence for the Bills. I mean, they ran the ball okay, but they're only targeting Stephon Diggs. Where's Gabe Davis? Where's Quinn Morris? Where's Dawson Knox? I mean, where's Deontay Hardy? Like, you gotta distribute the ball to everybody. It can't just be Stephon Diggs. And I think they're mainly targeting on him too much and relying on him, and nobody else. I mean, what, all the rest of these had 3 catches. He had 10 for 100. I mean, my God. And then he had an interception. So Josh Allen actually he played an okay game, but it's like The offense is Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. It won't work in the long run. They will not beat the Cincinnati Bengals in the playoffs with this type of scheme.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't understand why they're going away from James Cook in the backfield. Um, I don't. It just doesn't make much sense for me. I would continue to feed the hot hand, which seemed to be him, but they've gone more to Latavius Murray. Now, what I've read is that James Cook significantly struggles in the pass protection game, whereas Latavius Murray is 6'5", like massive dude, and he's good at blocking. So that's a little bit of why they've evened out the workload a little bit between Cook and Murray. But I would think that you would continue to give the ball to the guy whose first few games of the season were like breakout performances, and they're kind of going away from it. So that's interesting to me. Oh, Josh Allen. 6 interceptions this year. That's tied for third in the league. Jimmy G is first with 8. Jalen Hurts and Mac Jones have 7. And then Tannehill, Daniel Jones, Josh Allen, Jordan Love, Desmond Ridder, and Justin Fields. Oh, and you can throw Sam Howell in there as well, are tied with 6. Now, do you think Josh Allen deserves to be grouped with that group of quarterbacks that I just named right there? Hell no. I mean, Desmond Ridder, Daniel Jones, Tannehill, Jordan Love, Justin Fields, Sam Howell. No, Josh Allen is supposed to be worlds better than all of those guys, and he's kind of following the same trend that we've seen the past couple years when it comes to him turning the ball over, and it's just something that he does a little bit too frequently. I think it gets glossed over because he doesn't have, in this case, a star on his helmet. And you could say about a few other teams that get more coverage than the Bills do as well. It's not just the Cowboys, but you know what I mean. I feel like if he was in a larger market team, he would be getting way more criticism than he gets now. I still think he's one of the best QBs in the league. But I also think that his performance warrants some sort of criticism, and where it does come spottingly in the national media, it does not come close to the amount that a big market team gets, and I understand that to an extent, but at the same time, this is one of the faces of the league. He's literally just on the cover of Madden, and he's playing like he's like similar to like Brett Favre in a way, in that he's gonna throw that bitch, and regardless of if there's 2 guys, 3 guys on the other team down there, he wants to sling it and put trust in his guy and Diggs. And it's kind of working out similarly to how it did with Brett. I mean, obviously multi-time MVP, Super Bowl champ, Hall of Famer, can't really be mad at it. But I think our expectations of Josh up to this point have been to be a little bit more elite than that. And he hasn't been. And then also with that comparison to Brett, I want to say, like, if Josh wasn't playing in an era with Pat Mahomes, he would also probably have an MVP as well. So, and like Aaron Rodgers. So I'm not going to make that direct comparison to Brett Favre, but it's getting kind of similar when it comes to the turnovers. He's got to get that figured out if this team is going to reach the ultimate goal. Because if you go into every week not knowing if your QB is going to throw 2 interceptions that week, I don't think you can really make too much noise when it comes to a deep run in the playoffs.
That's it for Lambo's Border Sports. It's all NFL coverage. Like I said, we are about 20 minutes away from kickoff for the Dallas Cowboys and Los Angeles Chargers. This is it for Lambo's Border Sports. All NFL stuff is covered. Tomorrow, we'll be covering college football. Great matchups next week. But tomorrow is all college football. Totem Pole Nation, like, comment, subscribe. Lambo's Border Sports features the Big Brother. Feature Solid Sports Network. We will catch you tomorrow. All college football. And we'll recap Monday night's game. Hopefully the Cowboys come up top from him We'll see how this goes. I think it'll be a great high-scoring game. But I think the Chargers are going to win, but we'll figure this out later. But they do have a terrible defense of secondary for the Chargers. So I'm not really as confident, but hopefully I can do what I do last week and say, how about them Cowboys? But hopefully I am maybe wrong in a sense. But we'll figure that out in the next 20 minutes. Slammers Water Sports. Adios. We will catch you